Hello, this is Mrs. Foy, and today we're going to learn about the distribution of data and typical values of data on histograms. We have an example of a survey of the lengths of earthworms, and here's data on 24 earthworms. We have some statistical questions we'd like to answer, such as the typical length of them, are they all about the same length, and so on. And it's hard to answer this just looking at the numbers. It's better if they're in some kind of a data display, such as a histogram. So here we have the histogram. First, I'd like to point out the labels on the histogram. Across the top here, you see it's about the length of earthworms in millimeters. Here underneath, you have the measures, they're millimeters. And here you have frequency, which is the number of earthworms in each of these size ranges. So you have 4 earthworms measure between 0 and 20 millimeters, 11 earthworms measure between 20 and 40 millimeters, 6 earthworms measure between 40 and 60 millimeters, 2 measure between 60 and 80 millimeters, and 1 very long earthworm measures between 80 and 100 millimeters. A typical length for these earthworms. When you see the word typical, it's not an exact science. They're asking you to look at the data and see what you interpret as being a typical length. So looking at this, almost half of the earthworms, 11 out of 24 of them, are in the range of between 20 and 40 millimeters long. So I would say a typical length is between 20 and 40 millimeters, maybe 30, 35 millimeters long. Are most of the earthworms about the same length as a typical earthworm? Are most of them about 30 millimeters, 35 millimeters? And I would think not. You've got some which are quite a bit lower, almost as low as 0, somewhere between 0 and 20 millimeters long. And you've got some that range as high as between 80 and 100 millimeters long. So the lengths of the earthworms vary quite a lot. So here we have 2 different histograms. One represents basketball players and the other represents baseball players. I'd like you to pause this tutorial for a moment and have a look at these 2 histograms and see which one you think is the basketball players. So when you look at this first, your eye could be drawn to the taller bars here, and you could think, oh, this must be the one about the taller players. This must be the basketball players. But really, the height of the bars matches the y-axis, which is the number of players. The height of the players is on the x-axis. So let's look at the height of the players on the x-axis. And on this right-hand histogram, the players are between 66 and 80 inches tall. And on this histogram, they start off taller at 70 inches and they go as tall as 90 inches. So these players are taller, so this histogram is about the basketball players. Describing the distribution of the heights of the players, and a typical basketball player would be somewhere in the middle here between 76 and 82 inches. Most of the basketball players are in this range here. So I would say a typical height would be about 80 inches tall. There's quite a spread of data here. You've got some as low as 70 inches and some going up to 90 inches, but most of them are centered around here. Looking at the baseball players, there's less of a spread. Their typical height would be about 72 inches tall, or 72 to 74 inches, and they range between 66 and 80, so not such a wide spread of data there.